the bus, shake off the where you came from dust. Grab your guitar, walk down the street. Sign says Nashville, Tennessee. But I have found it's a crazy town full of neon dreams. Everybody plays, everybody sings. Hollywood with a touch of twang. To be a star, you gotta bang, bang, bang. Bend those strings till the Hank comes out. Make all the drunk girls scream and shout. We love it, we hate it, we're all just trying to make it in this crazy town. Pay your dues and you play for free, and you pray for a honky-tonk destiny. You cut your teeth in the smoky bars and live off the tips from a pickle jar till you find a cool new sound. And you smile when the record man shoots you down. It's a crazy town full of neon dreams. Everybody plays, everybody sings. Hollywood with a touch of twang. To be a star, you gotta bang, bang, bang. Bend those strings till the Hank comes out. Make all the drunk girls scream and shout. We love it, we hate it, we're all just trying to make it in this crazy town. One year they repossess your truck, and the next you make a couple $1,000,000. It's a crazy town full of neon dreams. Everybody plays, everybody sings. Hollywood with a touch of twang. To be a star, you gotta bend those strings till the Hank comes out. Make all the drunk girls scream and shout. We love it, we hate it, we're all just trying to make it. We love it, we hate it, we all came here to make it in this crazy town. It's a crazy town. She's sitting by the water where the river gets so wide. Think about swimming to the other side. Got a Marlboro Red and a can of cold bud. Toe squished down in the Arkansas mud. Hey, mister, yeah, I kissed her. Son, you ought to see a sister. You gotta give a little something to a cool dog cat. Finding him a woman that can shake like that. Hottie, she's a hottie. Got a smoking little body. String bikini and a barbed wire tie. She's a rockin' that cowboy hat. Hottie, she's a hottie, and just a little bit naughty. Kaya diggy diggy, kaya diggy diggy, yeah, hey, hey, hey. She's sliding down the dam where the moss gets thick, a yelling yee-haw. She's a redneck chick, spitting in the fire and putting on a show, strutting like a chicken to the radio. Hey, slick, she's a hick, in a buttermilk lipstick. Now give a little something to a cold dog cat. Finding him a woman that can shape like that. Hottie, she's a hottie. She got a smoking little body. String bikini and a barbed wire tie. She's a rockin' that cowboy hat. Hottie, she's a hottie, and just a little bit naughty. Singing kaya diggy diggy, kaya diggy diggy, yeah, hey, hey, hey. diggy, kayak, diggy, diggy, hey, 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 hey. This ain't no candlelight, one glass of wine night. It's more a whiskey water drink that's on a rush kind. Let's crank the radio, get this truck on into town. Somebody call the fire department, we're gonna burn it down. Girl, I can see it in your eyes. I know you're feeling like getting wild. Whatever gets you moving, gets you grooving, gets you fired up. We're gonna get it if you really want it bad enough. Yeah, we're gonna chase it, get all crazy, gonna lose our minds. Whatever's gonna get you feeling right, girl, we're gonna find it tonight. You call your girlfriends up and I'll call some boys of mine. I know the bouncer at the bar, no, we don't stand in line. I'll hit the DJ with some money, he'll play all your songs. We're gonna get it right, even if it's all wrong. Girl, I can see it in your eyes. I know you're feeling like getting wild. Whatever gets you moving, gets you grooving, gets you fired up. We're gonna get it if you really want it bad enough. Yeah, we're gonna chase it, get all crazy, gonna lose our minds. Whatever's gonna get you feeling right, girl, we're gonna find it tonight. Girl, I can see it in your eyes. Gonna have fun when we get home tonight. Whatever gets you moving, gets you grooving, gets you fired up. We're gonna get it if you really want it bad enough. Yeah, we're gonna chase it, get all crazy, gonna lose our minds. Whatever's gonna get you feeling right, girl, we're gonna find it tonight. We're gonna find it tonight. Yeah, we're gonna find it tonight. Whatever's gonna get you feeling right, girl, we're gonna find it tonight.
I'm glad it's a little cool though. What?
Barely. The lights. Can I run to the truck and get my
That's your halos?
I'm on a new road, off to the next show. I'm running late again, it's time to go. I'm ready, ready for a damn good time.
Yeah.
Pick up the tempo, give me my cable, play something they know that's on the radio.
gotta use
Are you
those.
ready, ready
Find
for
my
a
wing
damn
and it's not
good
that
time?
I'm
They
on
got beer by the buckets, better hurry up and get in line. If you're here for the party, here for the stroll, here's your chance to go see go. If you came with somebody
got
or
this
came
much in?
along, raise your glass now. Here's a toast. If I was here for the money, I'd have quit a long time ago.
Hey, Brian, turn off the music. Hello, everyone. My name is Joe Hyde. I run San Angelo Live. I thank every one of you for coming out tonight to experience the way a candidate debate should be held. We're holding this at the ArcLight. Some of this is coming over live stream. I don't know if we're live on live stream yet. It was a lot of work to get it going, and it's going to be myself and Yantis. We're going to be posing the questions. We're going to give them 2 minutes to introduce themselves, and then we're going to give them 2 minutes to answer each question in series. The candidates, at least the county commissioners so far, have already drawn their straws, so we know who's going to go first. There's no gotchas here. The goal is to inform the citizens of Tom Green County as best we can how to vote and who aligns with their worldviews and that kind of stuff, and to learn about who these candidates are. Both Yantis Green and myself have both been candidates before. We know how painful it is to be a candidate and not be able to get your point across because we're cutting you off at 30 seconds and stuff. So that's why we do the 2 minutes, trying to give you plenty of time. My official timekeeper is right here, Tracy King. So when you guys see Tracy King raise her hand or slap me in the face or something, you know that we gotta curtail the answer. Anyway, we're going to get going officially in about 30 seconds. Are y'all ready? And feel free to clap to let everyone know how many people are here. All right. Let's do a mic check real quick. Yantis?
Check.
Mic check.
Check.
I'm here to ask questions only. I'll be leaving soon.
Can you hear me now?
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, people down outside in the live stream world. This is Joe Hyde. I'm with San Angelo Live. I'm joined by my co-host, Yantis Green.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here.
And Yantis Green is the San Angelo Live senior political analyst. Just like Brett Hume on Fox News, right?
I am a senior. That is correct.
Very, very senior with that gray beard. Anyway, that's what they used to call old pilots, gray beards. But anyway, this debate is we have two contests that we're going to examine tonight. One is for the county commissioners for Precinct 2, and the second presentation we'll have is for the three candidates for judge for Court at Law number 1 here in Tom Green County. I would be remiss not to mention that we are being sponsored in this debate and this production, which takes a lot of time and effort and money. But our sponsor tonight is Kendall Hirschfield over at WTX Supply. And before we get started, just to let you know a little bit about WTX Supply. When we started, when San Angelo Live took over this restaurant here at the Clarion Inn called the ArcLight, we didn't know anything about running restaurants. So we called him over there, called Kendall over there at WTX Supply, and said, can you keep us out of trouble with the city inspectors? And he he makes sure we have the procedures in place, the supplies in place, everything in order to run a restaurant and bar, but from the trash can liners to the dishwasher machine to the bar, everything in there. And the cool thing about WTX Supply and Kendall Hirschfield is he didn't sit there and jack the rates on me, because there's so many things you got to look at. And he's been a great partner for this restaurant and part of its success. So thank you very much, WTX Supply, for your sponsorship of this debate. And without further ado, you want to get started?
Sure, let's go. The candidates are Chad Decker and Todd Smith at Precinct 2. That's the southeast quadrant of the county. This is in the Republican primary, March 2nd. March 3rd. I'm trying to I want to get it done.
Yes.
Let's go.
It's the gray beard.
Yeah, I have a memory problem. So, we will start out with an introduction, who you are, why you're running, that sort of thing. Take about 2 minutes. We drew straws earlier, and we will start with Todd Smith.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Good morning. Did we say morning or afternoon?
Evening.
Anyway, I'm kind of with Yanis. I don't know what time it is. Hey, I'm Todd Smith, and I'm running for County Commissioner, Precinct 2. And I'd give you a little lesson on what a commissioner's role is. First thing is to help adopt the county's budget and set the tax rate. This year's proposed budget is about $69 million, a little over. So we help oversee county infrastructure, especially roads, bridges, and drainage and projects in the precincts. We approve contracts and spending on pre-approved budget items, and then we worked with unfunded government mandates. We work through those as well. We manage operations at the policy level, so we work with local elected officials. What we do not do is we don't micromanage them. We plan for growth and for public needs, so public safety needs, so with the jail, the sheriff's department, The courts, we make sure there's enough capacity in the courts. Technology upgrades, emergency management coordination, much like with the July 4th flooding last year. We represent the precinct residents, so we take the calls, we identify the issues, and of course, help coordinate a solution. And then we help set policy for county property and services. So this is like facility leases, county-owned land, subdivisions, platting, and long-range capital plans. So I've been in the public service field for pretty much all my life, and even before I knew that I was going to run for any kind of office. With my technology background, I've seen a lot of advances in technology in the last, since the 90s when I started in the field. I've seen internet before internet was an internet. I'm older than internet. And I'd love your vote for County Commissioner Precinct 2. Thank you.
All right, it's Todd. Okay, Chad Decker, you're
Okay.
up.
I'm Chad Decker, of course, running for County Commissioner Precinct 2. Just a little bit about me, my background. Born and raised in San Angelo, Tom Green County, graduate of Central High School as well as Angelo State University. I have married to my wife, Deborah, be 30 years this summer. We've got 2 adult children and 1 granddaughter that's the best thing ever. So my background is I have been in the construction industry almost 34 years. I've owned Decker Custom Homes in San Angelo primarily for right at 24 years. You don't run a business and be a business owner for 24 years unless you're doing something right. And that's one thing I take a lot of pride in. We build good quality homes. We build them costly and effectively. Efficiently, and I take a lot of pride in that fact. I do a ton of volunteer work throughout the city and the state as well. I sit on the board of directors for the Home Builder Association of San Angelo, the Texas Association of Builders. I'm also a trustee for Howard College Foundation. We have recently, in the last several years, constructed 2 construction trades facilities out at Howard College because we have such a shortage in skilled labor. Excuse me, not just construction, but just skilled labor in general, not in San Angelo, but across the state of Texas. So it's something that's near and dear to my heart. I'm very proud of the fact that we've got this accomplished. The reason I want to run is we've got 2, God's been real good to me. I've been blessed with a successful business. We've got 2 grown kids. And this is a way for me, even though it's a salary position, it's a way for me to give back to not only San Angelo, but especially Tom Green County. I do, like I say, I mentioned, I do tons of volunteer work. I just got finished volunteering this weekend at the stock show.
All right, thanks. That's 2 minutes each. We won't go any more than 45 minutes total for the county commissioners. Todd, you get the first question. And we were talking about the fiduciary responsibility of commissioners. There are 28 elected officials in Tom Green County and other department heads that are not elected, like the voter registrar, elections administrator, Vonna Hudson, and then your road guys, and there's parks. And so, as my memory serves me sometimes, that's kind of like herding cats. Tell me, what is your approach to dealing with other elected officials and working with people who are powerful as you are?
That's a great question. It is like herding cats. I've been a part of this. I've been going to county commissioner meetings for probably 5 or 6 years, and I've seen the dynamics. And I kind of look at this as like you go to church for a period of time, and then you join the church. And when you join the church, you kind of see the back end of things and how inner workings things are happening. So I kind of picture this as that same kind of setup, and seeing the inner workings. I think we have a great administration in there today. We have some great people that are in there, and the JPs and the Diana Speaker, those type of people. They're really good in their departments. I have seen them come up and do some scolding to the commissioners, which is probably warranted. And I think we're all people, and I think we all can get along. You know, I thought of this the other day. I did some work for the Alaska State Legislature, and I believe Alaska's blue, and I think that makes me be able to walk across the aisle. So maybe that helps out a little bit too. Thanks.
All right, thanks. Chad, same question. Herding cats.
Effectively and efficiently. No, I mean, the way I would approach it going in, I've attended commissioner meetings for quite a while too, and you can only learn so much at the meetings themselves. So, you know, we've got one senior commissioner in Rick Bacon, who I think does a phenomenal job, and then on the down in the Christoval Precinct 4 area is Sean Nanny. Sean has been instrumental. I'm sure you heard this week, y'all had it on San Angelo Live about getting the money, working with August Pfluger to put that bridge in over at Mineral Wells Crossing. To me, the biggest thing that you do is you go in there and you don't try to make a bunch of change right up front. I would go in, rely on senior commissioners and county judge as well, and learn as much as I can. I can't fix anything overnight. You know how county government works the same as state and federal government. You're not going to make changes overnight. But to me, if you go in and you educate yourself properly, learn the basics, learn how the wheels turn, and then start spreading your wings, I think that's the most effective way to do it.
All right, thanks.
Mr. Decker, looking behind me, there's a whole lot of people who've seen their property valuations increase significantly, especially since 2023. What kind of allowance are you going to give to the taxpayers, the property taxpayers of Tom Green County, for enduring those, I mean, I think I would call them excessive property valuation increases? How will you approach setting the tax rate in conjunction and working with the commissioners and, of course, the county judge?
Well, I think what the commissioners try to do, along with the county judge, is when we have inflated appraisal values, which we've had, you adjust the tax rate accordingly. You know, when the budget is done for the county, it has to be balanced. If appraisal values go up, typically you would hopefully see the tax rate go down. We've seen decreases 3 of the last 4 years. I'd love to take responsibility for that, but I've not been in office. So, but I think that's one thing, and we've dealt with is, you know, we hear it a bunch in the home building industry is the appraisal values went sky high. So, you know, as a homeowner, I would say go challenge the appraisal district, which even though it says Tom Green County Appraisal District, it has nothing to do with the valuations are not set by the commissioners or anybody in Tom Green County. That's done by the state comptroller's office. But I would challenge those if you think your appraisal values are high. I will say that I think that they have made some adjustments. I think they've got some pretty knowledgeable people on the board over there now. And if you look at property values as compared to what they were 2 or 3 years ago, I think they're a lot more realistic is what they have on file as compared to what your property would appraise for if you had a private appraiser come out and do an appraisal on your property. So,
Mr. Smith, Todd Smith, the same question to you. When I go talk to Tyler Johnson at the appraisal district about him, you know, raising all these valuations, what he says is that tax rate contains 2 components. The valuation, which I can't change the way we do it because we're mandated by the state comptroller. I can't change it, but you have the ability to vote for your representative who can set the tax rate, who can compensate for valuations going up. So what are your thoughts on setting the tax rate when you're working with the rest of the commissioner's court and the county judge?
Well, I kind of look at it, you know, there's a big ripple effect in this. And it can't be changed overnight, but one thing that I can say is that I'm a property owner and I pay taxes. You know, I have a household budget that I live by every single year, and I don't have the ability to go raise my income by a whole lot of money. But yet, if the taxes go up, then there's some way we got to compensate that some way. So I think there's got to be a way within our county government where we can kind of come to a median of we've got to be able to plan ourselves to live on the same budget as we did last year and not raise that rate of tax. But there is a ripple effect. I mean, we do have to have some industry that comes in that kind of helps offset some of those taxes. And of course, that's going to be a long-term deal. It's not going to happen, this year by any means or next year. But we've got some things coming that could very well help us offset some of these property taxes for the residents. And I'm all for let's choke the government down and the county down and live on what we did last year. I know we have to put some money back for some rainy day things, but me as an individual at my house, I don't have that ability to do so. And I think a lot of people, a lot of the taxpayers are feeling the same way. I'd love to give myself a raise to be able to cover the extra expenses, but we've got to be able to kind of wrangle that in with the county government.
All right, thanks, Todd. This is for Chad.
I went first on that one, but I'll go first
Yeah.
again. Doesn't matter.
Okay. Okay. There's been some talk, at least initially, and the commissioners have put aside some money for expansion of court space, courtroom facilities. Tell me where that stands, and what are your views on adding courtroom space and how to fund it?
Well, the courtroom space is great, but we really need courtroom security. We really need the judges and the lawyers to be able to be secure in and out of the courthouse, which they don't have today. So I really believe that we need to do some of that, get those guys some security. They have been renovated, but it's still, I don't know, it's still old buildings, right? Speaking with the judge, he did say that they put money back to do some evaluations to get a kind of a budget or a cost of what it would cost to do this. And a lot of things that he told me, I don't know that I can share, but it's good things. I mean, it's really good things for the county. That's where I'm at. I look for the security for the judges and the lawyers.
Okay, thanks, Chad. The same question. Where does extra courtroom space stand? The dockets are busy, and we just don't have enough courtrooms.
I'd love to see more courtroom space. I'd love to see updated or new courtrooms. All of that comes with a price, and we're always talking about our taxes, how much we pay, and anything that you're going to get, whether it's new or expanded space, we're going to pay for it. So do we want to pay for it in a tax rate increase? Do we want to pay for it in reducing budget somewhere else? I mean, it's a real touchy subject. So, I've done budgeting my entire adult life on your house. But that's one of the things that we always have to look at is, yeah, it's great to have ideas to add this or add that, but who's going to pay for it? And, I think the number one complaint that I hear from constituents, besides roads, potholes, drainage, things like that, is taxes. So, I would love to see new industry come to town, bring some more tax dollars via property tax revenue. And that may be one of your questions that you guys have coming up. I know we all kind of know about the new stuff that we're talking about with the city and the county, but the budget is super tight, and at 69 million is where we're at and some change. There's not a whole lot of wiggle room in there, especially when you've got mandates come down unfunded, and you've got to address those. So as much as I'd love to do it, at what expense?
All right, Mr. Decker. Your opponent, in his opening statement, mentioned something about unfunded mandates. And when you talk about unfunded mandates, one of the things that happened several years ago was that the state legislature authorized Tom Green County to have a 5th district court called the magistrate. to handle more of the caseload. And that was presented in a lot of the discussions, political discussions among the political heads, is that was an unfunded mandate to add a 5th court. And when you add a 5th district court, I'm just going off of, I'm spitballing it, probably about $600,000 or about a penny to your tax rate to pay for that 5th court. But we didn't have to establish that magistrate. We just had all the legislation did was say, you can do it, and we'll pay. We'll help you pay for it just like normal, but maybe at about a half price is what the state pays. But you don't have to implement it right now. So tell me your thoughts on that. Should we have established that magistrate court, or should we have waited and just kind of held it in our pocket, kind of as a tool that we could use in the future?
I wish I could say I was familiar with that coming down, but I'm not familiar with that. Again, I think it all comes down to dollars and cents. What can we afford to do, and what can we not afford to do? I don't really know how else you want me to answer that, but I mean, it's just a matter of can we afford to do it, or can we not afford to do it?
Mr. Smith.
That's a Joe loaded question right there, if I ever heard one in my life. Yeah, I believe the guys that were in place did the right thing. I'm just going to trust that they did the right thing. Based on what I've seen with past budgets and past budget years, I'm going to just say, yeah, they did great.
I could tell by the smile on his face when he was asking that.
Yeah, just
Okay, Todd. Since we're talking about money, the legislature, the Texas legislature, and I'm going to credit Drew Darby for this. First time I heard it, they meet 140 days every 2 years, and a lot of taxpayers and voters would like to see them meet twice every 140 years. You guys meet 104 times in that same 2-year period. You meet weekly. But from a fiduciary standpoint, there's been a move at the state level to abolish property taxes. Mm-hmm. And they've squeezed down counties so that you can only raise taxes to like 3% without having to roll back. And now, and I may be behind the times, are we already at a position where they're talking about a no new revenue tax rate? Mm-hmm. So on the outside looking in, if you can't raise taxes by law, where do you cut?
Well, it's my belief that the governor's trying to get rid of property taxes and bring in a state tax. That's my belief, but I don't know if that's true or not. And I think that would be terrible for Texas. But the only places we could cut, I don't want to cut it, but the only places we could cut at this moment is the library and the parks. And who wants to be that guy? I don't want to be that guy, but that's really the only places we have to cut. We're already down sheriff's office deputies, we're already down jailers, so we can't cut there. So I don't think we want to go there, but that's a future. That's another loaded question, by the way.
It is, and every commissioner has to ask themselves that question. Yeah. They really do, the way the county government is set in Texas. And same question, Todd.
Sure.
As he mentioned, libraries and parks are optional; they're not mandatory. And so, where can you cut? What can you do?
Well, first off, I'm not in agreement with cutting property taxes. That's not a commissioner's role or duty or whatever. That's lies strictly on our governor. But I think it's awful bold to come out and say you're going to cut property taxes and not have a plan in place on how you're going to make up that money. Our governor's operated in the black his entire time in office, and he's not had lean times. We've always had rainy day fund to fall back on. So, to me, to effectively present something like that, you've got to give some options. Where's this money going to come from? Property tax pays for a ton of public services, schools, I just don't know how you could, if property taxes were eliminated and we had to cut budget in Tom Green County with zero property tax revenue, you're talking cutting more than library and parks. We're talking about millions of dollars. So that libraries and parks wouldn't scratch the surface. To me, this lies more on our state government and coming up with an effective plan. If you're going to eliminate property tax, how do you replace it?
Maybe we'll do a fundraiser.
Okay. Joe, next question.
Chad.
Chad,
Yes.
since we really don't have much wiggle room on cutting property taxes, one of the ways that we can get around the no new revenue rate versus voter approval rate range is to grow the value of the properties, okay? Meaning new properties onto the rolls. That's what I mean, new properties onto the rolls. Right now we have a huge debate going on in the city of San Angelo about whether or not we should have this thing called a skybox, which is a hyperscale data center they want to put up on the northeast quadrant of the county inside the city limits. A lot of people, even in this room, conservatives, are tied with liberals saying we don't want that thing because it's going to use too much water, too much power, and they're scared of fan noise. Where do you stand on skybox data centers coming to Tom Green County? Because I guarantee you there's going to be some data centers, they're going to be outside of the city limits and in the county. So you're going to have some type of governance or control over it. So what are your thoughts on it? Do you support it? Do you want more, less? Just give me your site picture.
Okay, I'm going to address one at a time. So let's start off with the one in the city. And I've done quite a bit of research. I've talked to a lot of folks. I'm not employed by the county right now. I'm not employed by the city. I have not had any direct contact with Skybox. But from what I've been told, the water usage is 20 to 25,000 gallons per unit, and there's 6 units. So we're talking roughly 150,000 gallons with this closed loop system is all it would take to run the Skybox units. The electricity, in fact, Todd and I had a discussion last week, and nobody can tell you exactly what the electricity usage is going to be. Nobody that I've talked to. Gabe Menchaca was speaking at that thing, and he is very well more versed than I think both of us in that regard, and he couldn't give us an electricity usage. I will tell you that the numbers that I've heard as far as property tax revenue that Tom Green County could probably potentially get from this would be in the neighborhood of $21 million a year. So if we want to talk about improving infrastructure, being able to pay our sheriff's deputies what equivalent of what SAPD pays, things that we really need to make improvements on, you'd be hard-pressed to not want a data center. Now, there are still some unknowns, but in order to generate $21 million, right now the county's property tax revenue is 46 million. So you're looking at almost half that this proposed data center would potentially bring. You would almost have to double the size of Tom Green County in homes and businesses to generate that same revenue.
Mr. Todd Smith, what's your thoughts on Skybox? For it, against it, and also, and we can come back on this the same question. What kind of regulations and things do you think the county needs to look at in order to either attract more data centers or regulate them so they don't make too much noise or whatever they're worried about?
Well, I started speaking on this a little bit with my technology background. I started in the 90s with technology, and I've seen a lot of things. I've seen the internet start. I think Al Gore said he made it, but I don't really believe that. But I've seen TVs with the big boxes behind them, and now look at TVs now. I've learned acronyms that I've learned a new language, acronymese. So with this technology, this is just since the 90s to today, where are we going to be in 5 years? I'm excited about the next 5 years of technology, and I would 100% support this data center coming in. But now this is not, the skybox is, you know, I don't have a say in it. I don't think the county commissioners have a say in it. It's a city project, but I'm in it to win it with the skybox. I think the tax rate, the tax income, far outweighs any of the negatives that we have coming with this. And to touch on your other data centers that are coming in, you know, I think Elon said that he was going to launch a data center into space, which asked me, you know, I asked a question. So how much, when on my property land, how much air do I own above my house? And it's 400 foot. I got 400 foot above my house. So when we become the Jetsons and you want to build a house in the air, you can only go 400 foot.
No, thank you.
All right. Let's get down to some traditional county stuff because that's all I can remember. How many miles of roads in Precinct 2? Have you driven them? What kind of shape are they in? What's the drainage looks like? And what kind of revenue do you have to do anything about it? Todd?
Okay. I believe we're a little over 200 miles of county roads in Precinct 2. And I haven't driven them all, but I've driven, I hadn't counted the miles, but I've driven quite a bit of them. And I've listened to some constituents that were out in the area, and there's some drainage issues. And really some of the drainage issues are caused by when we're not spraying a chemical on the road to kill the grass or kill the weeds off the grass. We're doing a scraping, and that scraping that's causing berms, and those berms end up causing some drainage issues. So I did speak with Rick Bacon about that, and Rick said that we don't have anybody on staff to look. I'm already talking like we. It's the county doesn't have anybody on staff that has a license to spray chemicals on the side of the road. So they've been using it for doing the scraping. But he said, give them the address and they'll go by and look at it and get with the landowner and make sure that the drainage is good. There's some roads out there that have been patched that you can tell they've been patched. And I'm not sure that that's the best we can do as a county. But really getting into it, I'd have to visit with the road crew to see what they think. I mean, they're a lot smarter on the roads than I am, and I believe that we have. Oh my gosh, I think it was. But we share like a $1.2 million budget with Precinct 4, if I remember looking at the books right. That's off the top of my head, which is not a lot of money.
Yeah, that's the thing. You've got 200 miles of road and $1 million a year, and that's not enough to repave everything that needs to be repaved and fix all the drainage and that sort of thing. Todd, same question. Chad, same question. Told you, I've got a memory problem.
Well, I need more than 2 minutes. So there's 213.2 miles of county road in Precinct 2. 160.2 miles of those are paved, 48.8 miles are limestone, and another 4-ish are dirt roads. I live on a county road. I drive the county roads all the time. I've probably driven all but the 4-point-ish dirt roads in Precinct 2. There is some work that needs to be done. I've driven county roads, however, in other counties, and I'm going to tell you, ours are in pretty good shape when you start looking at surrounding counties. The budget is actually $1.9 million that's split between Precinct 2 and Precinct 4. And that is not enough money to do significant improvements. There's not a piece of equipment over there in the maintenance barn that I can't run. I've run an asphalt paving machine, front end loader, maintainer, you name it. I will tell you that our road they ran a maintainer down the shoulders in the last couple of months. I've been there for 24 years, and that's the first time I've seen that done. And what happens is, when you live out there, you see this. You've got combines, you've got strippers, you've got big tractors and things like that. When you meet another car, you pull over on the shoulder, and that's where the road gets torn up. Subsequently, that's where you see 99.9% of the patches. So by running a maintainer along the edge, then coming back and spraying a herbicide, which Todd alluded to, doesn't take anything to get an applicator's license. You just take a few hours of classes and it can be done. Use a hooded sprayer so you don't have to worry about getting herbicide on the farmer's crops. And then come back and do a seal coat on those shoulders. When they get brittle and you run heavy equipment on the shoulders, that's when they come apart. That's where I think we could be proactive. Spend a little money up front, and it saves us a ton down the road because you're not just doing patch after patch after patch.
All right, thanks. That's a good answer.
Mr. Decker, in Lubbock County, which is probably the sign of things to come here in Tom Green County, they had a problem with game rooms in the county. Lubbock County had 85 game rooms. These gaming rooms, they say they attract drug dealing and prostitution and all kinds of crazy stuff like that. We already have some game rooms within the county inside the city limits. But what if we started having all these game rooms start popping up all over the place in Grave Creek or Christoval or even Wall? How would you view that? Would you support regulating and or getting rid of them?
I'm not going to come out and say get rid of them, but I think you definitely have to have some type of regulation. I read this week where, this is a little bit different scenario, but I read this week where a county in Texas, the commissioners tried to put a moratorium on data centers, AI centers, and it was ruled that they didn't have the authority to do that. So commissioners would need to be very certain to avoid any legal implications, that whatever choices they made or decisions they made, that it's within the right of the law. I think the county legal team is pretty sufficient in that, but definitely would be worth reaching out to the state of Texas. I just think it's a very fine path that you have to walk, and if you're going to do something, make sure that you have the authority to do it.
Mr. Todd Smith, what are your thoughts on game rooms, and how would you view that as a government official?
Do I see some games out in the ArcLight area?
Those are skill games. Those aren't gambling machines.
No, I don't know that we can put any regulations on them, but we could certainly have some sheriff's deputies go out and make sure things were on the up and up. And maybe some Sheriff Hanna may want to check it out as well. So that's where I would go with it.
All right, thanks. I guess we'll go another question with Todd Smith. How much time do we have left for the 10 minutes? Okay. This is near and dear to my heart. I adopt dogs, and you guys know that dogs and cats are a problem inside the city limits. They're a problem outside the city limits. Here's my soapbox. Spay, neuter your pets. Don't breed dogs or cats. What options do you have to get a handle on stray dogs, cats, the dog problem in the county? And would you support efforts to get the legislature to give you more power?
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. It's the pet population is near and dear to my heart. Yeah, I can't talk about that. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. Chad?
Well, considering we live out in the county, we've unfortunately been the recipient of that puppy that turned into a big dog, and somebody drove out in the county and dropped it off. So yes, I would 100% support any additional funding that we could to do that. I love cats and dogs. We raise show goats for a living. So I love animals. However, I don't think that we have placed enough responsibility on our pet owners. But if we could definitely get more money that would go towards spay and neuter, I'd be 100% for that.
All right, Joe, I think we've got time for one more.
And one more question for Mr. Chad Decker. Mr. Chad Decker, you're a home builder, which means that you have the ability to build lots of homes on the side. All right. If you were to win this contest and become the county commissioner for Precinct 2, are you going to be a full-time commissioner, or are you going to be a home builder and a commissioner?
I'm gonna be a full-time commissioner. If the people in Precinct 2 give me enough of their support to vote me in, I'm giving them 110%. Especially coming in new, not knowing exactly how things operate, I'm gonna roll up my sleeves, get dirty, and get to work. Would I not build any homes going forward? Probably a few spec houses if I had time, but only if I had time. If I get into the Precinct 2 commissioner role, you've got me 100%.
Same question to you, Todd Smith. You are an IT guy. It's really easy to do things on the side. Are you going to start up Todd Smith Inc. and start running Ethernet cables and installing alarm systems and skills games in bars? Or are you going to be a full-time commissioner?
Well, I plan on being a full-time commissioner as well. But to the point, I believe there is time on the side to do the side gig. But it is just, they're getting 100% of my time and effort. As a commissioner in Precinct 2, I'll give them 100%. And then if there is time, I may play a little bit of golf, because I like to play golf. And I'm not going to promise that I'm not going to play golf, but yeah, that's what I got.
And this is now time for the two parting statements. And Tracy, which one goes first? Do you remember? You don't remember. Who went first? Do you remember? Todd Smith, you go first?
I went first. So
you went first? Chad Decker goes first.
Yeah. So, again, I want to thank you guys for having us out here tonight. We appreciate it. I always welcome being able to sit out in front of folks, especially ones that I've maybe not met or not have the opportunity to learn what I'm about. For almost 34 years as a home builder, I have effectively and efficiently spent people's money. The biggest thing that a county commissioner does is spend your money. That's what we do. 90% of the stuff that goes through Commissioner's Court is budgetary. $69 million and some change. People have trusted me with $1 million homes, and we've done it effectively and efficiently. And I've done all of that by myself. I don't have a superintendent or a payroll clerk or a sales lady. I've done that by myself 100% with Decker Custom Homes for 24 years. I would continue that same process as county commissioner. I want to treat every dollar like it's my own, eliminate any unnecessary or spending that we don't need to have, and roll up my sleeves and get dirty for the taxpayers. You know, I heard a saying a long time ago, and it was something probably that my dad said, so I may get emotional. But leave things better than you found it. That's what I want to do as county commissioner. I want to leave Tom Green County better than I found it. I think I'm the man for the job. I've got the experience, the background, and I would be honored to earn your respect and your vote March 3rd.
Mr. Todd Smith.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Hey, thank everybody for coming out tonight. I know that there was a charge for the door, and it cost money to get in here, but going to a great cause of the Pregnancy Help Center, is that where it went? So thank you all for coming out and supporting that. I started off my speech tonight with the county commissioner's roles, and I believe that I check all of those boxes. Now there is a few of those boxes that are a little iffy, and I plan on going in and learning those, going in full force and learning all those pieces. But I want to bring my technology experience and bring Tom Green County forward with that. There's a lot of things happening. The data centers are a big subject, and this is only the tip of the iceberg of where technology is going. I mean, yesterday I visited a place that had TVs that were clear glass, and that's this. I mean, really not. It's not far in the future that we're looking at. I mean, we already have flying cars, but there's really not far in the future. I don't think we're looking at floating houses or I mean, we already have robot nannies and things like that. So, it's hard to embrace, but we've embraced the cell phone. We've embraced streaming TV. We've embraced all this technology already. I think it's time to kind of open up and maybe embrace some new technology coming in. And with this new technology coming in, I believe that we're gonna see a huge help in our property taxes, which is a huge thing. I asked for everybody to go out and vote. March the 17th, February 17th is early voting, and then March the 3rd is the day of the voting. I ask that you call neither me or Chad on March the 4th. We're going to be sleeping. Thank y'all.
You can vote for me on March 3rd, vote for Todd on March 17th.
That's election interference there, Decker. Anyway, we're going to hold on. Before we go, any last thoughts there, Yantis Green?
Yes, I think we would be remiss if we didn't mention that Sammy Farmer was the county commissioner in Precinct 2 who passed away recently. He was a fantastic human being, and if you didn't know Sammy, your world is a little bit dimmer. One of these two guys, because there's nobody else in the general election, has a high probability of being appointed after the March primary to fill that seat. It's very important because the budget starts in June. I just wanted to put that out there, and now we can move on.
Okay, if we can just hold on for a second, and James, can you go to the placard and take it down? We're going to reconfigure the stage very minorly, and we're going to get the County Court at Law number 1 candidates up here. And while we're doing that, we're going to, Tracy King told me that people need a 5-minute break. The restrooms are back in the back. You go out that main wall and take a left. You can't miss them. But we'll be back in, what time is it? 7:20. We'll be back at 7:30. 7:30. And for those of you who are watching at home, just stay tuned here, and we'll be back at 7:30 with County Court at Law candidates. Janet Johnson, Jessica Skinner, and Leland Lacey, and we'll be discussing legal things in the county. Thank y'all for watching online, and please stay tuned. We got more fun coming up.
I'm just telling you the truth. If this is moving on, I ain't over you. And I ain't over you. I pulled up in that two-tone single cab, me and Dad fixed 4x4 with a 4-inch lift, just high enough that I had to help her in. Baby, it was that cracked windshield, but I couldn't see with that going nowhere right would lead. I sure didn't think it would end with a kiss until it did. It could have been the right song, came on the radio the first time she got to drive off-road. It got her holding on to me that night. It could have been the glass-packed twin-stack tailpipes. Still don't know why she fell for my son. Set the night on fire with a half tank of gas. Could have been the right song came on the radio the first time she got to drive off-road. Got her holding on to me that night. It could have been the glass pack, twin stack tailpipes. Still don't know why she fell for my sun bleached fancy. Four-wheel drive, dome line, pickup lines. Yeah, my pickup lines. She fell for my sun bleached fancy. Four-wheel drive, dome line, pickup lines. Oh, yeah.
I met a guy on a red eye. He spotted my guitar and said, "What do you do?" I said, "I sing for a living. Country music mixed with a little rock and a little blues." He said, "I'm sorry, but I've never been crazy about that twang and trains and hillbilly thing. Whatever made you want to sing stuff like that?" I just looked at him and laughed and said, "'Cause there's songs about me and who I am. Songs about loving and living and good-hearted women, family and God. Yeah, they're all just songs about me. Songs about me." So I offered him tickets. I said, "You'll see what I mean if you show up tonight." He said, "I doubt you'll change my opinion. I'll be kind of busy, but hey man, I'll try." Then later on when we finished our songs about scars and cars and broken hearts, I saw him. He was standing there right next to the stage and he shouted, "Man, you were right, it was like you sang those songs about me and who I am. Songs about loving and living and good-hearted women, family and God. Yeah, they're all just songs about me. Songs about me." Yeah. So I'll just keep on singing till I hear the whole world singing. Those are songs about me and who I am. Songs about loving and living and good-hearted women, family and God. Yeah, they're all just songs about me. Songs about me.
Hanging curve, trying to paint the black. I gave my high school coach a heart attack. 8 hours shots away from winning state. All I had to do was make no mistakes, and there it went like a Goodyear blimp over the right field wall into some fan's mitt. I was standing there on a mound of dirt, feeling hurt 'cause I blew it in the bottom of the fifth. Man, it's a pits when your well runs dry and your time runs out. You can't quit getting lit up quicker than a sky on the 4th of July when you put it out there and lay it all on the line, just to lose it in the bottom of the fifth. Sherry Ann was my high school flame. I lost her too and I lost that game, 'cause she was looking for the next big thing. It hit me hard getting back that ring, so I turned that Jack D up, and good God Almighty, it's some powerful stuff. The heartache seemed to fade away, and you that gum straight, it was gone by the bottom of a fifth. Man, it's a pits when your well runs dry and your time runs out. You can't quit getting lit up quicker than a sky on the 4th of July when you put it out there and lay it all on the line, just to lose it in the bottom of a fifth. This ain't no glass half empty thing. This is almost there with the one that got away. Then you lose it in the bottom of the fifth. Oh, it's a pits when your well runs dry and your time runs out. You can't quit getting lit up quicker than a sky on the 4th of July when you put it out there and lay it all on the line, just to lose it in the bottom of the fifth. Oh, ain't it a pitch when your well runs dry and your time runs out. You can't quit getting lit up quicker than a sky on the 4th of July when you put it out there and lay it all on the line, just to lose it in the bottom of the fifth. Yeah, yeah. You lose it in the bottom of a fifth. Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're getting ready for the County Court of Law #1 debate. I have the candidates up on the stage. I don't know if we are we live? They can see pictures of what's going on in here. We're broadcasting live from the greatest bar in Texas. It's called the ArcLight Bar and Grill inside the Clarion Hotel, 441 Rio Concho. Situated behind the candidates, if you can switch over. Man, where are you going, Bellini? My camera guy keeps running all over the room. Behind the candidates is the largest video wall in San Angelo. It's like a really, really fine dots per inch. We play all the football games on there. But for tonight, we have the backdrop. And behind that, in front of that backdrop, we have 3 candidates that are vying for the position of Judge, County Court at Law #1. If you're not familiar with it, I'll just give you my thumbnail of it. And if y'all think I'm wrong, y'all can say so when you get the introductions. But basically, County Court at Law handles misdemeanor offenses, probates, the smaller stuff, while the felonies and the major, the murder charges and stuff, or the murder cases and trials go up to the district court. So they're kind of like the catch-all of our docket. If the County Court at Law gets slow or slows down, then things like the petty crimes that happen when someone steals a laptop out of your pickup in your driveway, those don't get prosecuted. So it's an important function in the county. A judge that's in the county court of law, we have 2 of them, is one of the most, one of the top 5 positions in politics in Tom Green County. And we have 3 wonderful candidates who are vying for that. I'll start from my right. We have Miss Janet Johnson, we have Jessica Sinner in the middle, and we have Leland Lacey to my left, I guess to Jessica's right. And we're going to start off with 2 minutes for each of you to introduce yourselves. But before you do, I'd like to remind you that this debate is sponsored by WTX Supply. It's right over here on Concho Avenue, Kendall Hirschfield's company. It takes care of, you have an office, you have a business, you want to call WTX Supply and get them to supply you with soap for your employees, all the paper products for your restrooms, things like that. You can get on a schedule. It doesn't cost a whole lot of money. If you're in the restaurant business like he does here, he takes care of all of our sanitation, which is excellent. He's done an excellent job for us. WTX Supply. And thank you, Kendall Hirschfield and crew over there at WTX Supply, for sponsoring this and allowing us to put the money behind it to make it a good presentation. Second, I'd like to give a shout out to Tradewind Sound, who is handling all the sound for this. They handle all the sound for the ArcLight Sports Bar and Grill. And I got Brian Thomas back there who's making sure that all these microphones work, except for Yantis. His microphone doesn't work very well because Yantis does not put his face up next to the microphone. So we're gonna fix that.
That's an old black and white days radio habit.
Oh, radio habit. I got you. And finally, the crew from San Angelo Live. I got Ryan Chadwick, our sports guy over here on camera on the right. I got Lucas Banda. He's the guy that writes all the controversial articles. It's not me. I don't do that. But he's taking care of the roving camera. And I have James Bellini, who's the video guy, and he's put this whole thing together. So you guys watching at home, that's the crew from San Angelo Live. And while these guys are here working, I have Paul Harris back at the office making sure that if there's a car wreck, we don't miss it. Anyway, before we get started, I guess I'm going to have Yantis introduce himself, and then you can go ahead and we go in and get into the introductions.
Oh, gosh. My name is Yantis Green. I am the political analyst, senior political analyst, I guess, emeritus for San Angelo Live. Spent some time in radio as a reporter and television as a reporter, and with Joe about 7 years, and it was great. And I'm now retired, and I drive for Uber and I walk my dog. So. To piggyback on what Joe said, I had to do some research because it's the court at law that you're running for. There's 2 court at laws, as Joe said, in Tom Green County, but there's a 3rd judge that does this exact same thing, and that would be the county judge. His judicial responsibilities mirror yours, mirror this court, and these courts were created by statute. The legislature created the court at laws to take over the overflow of the docket from county judges. And you overlap both, the court at law overlaps both the justice of the peace courts and also some of the district court responsibilities. So as a voter, what you need to know is there's 4 justice of the peace judges. Those are the people's court. And then there are 4 district judges in Tom Green County. And then in the middle are the 2 court at laws that are full-time judges. You're all attorneys. You're much smarter than me, and that's great. But this docket handles that mid-ground between the People's Court, the JP courts, and also the district courts. These were, again, created by the legislature. The other courts, the district courts, are statutory. They're constitutional. I read up on this. Those were created by the Constitution, as were the JP courts. So that's boring stuff that I know. Anyway, feel free to correct me at any time. We did draw straws earlier, and Leland Lacey gets to start first, and then we've got a 2-minute opening. Is that right? A 2-minute opening statement. We'll go down the line, and then we'll start with questions. Leland?
All right. Thank you, Yantis. My name is Leland Lacey. I'm a conservative, Christian, father, son, husband. Speaking of that husband part, my wife Laura is here. She's a local real estate appraiser and broker here in town. We've got 2 little boys that are 11 and 14 that go to school out at Wall. They both play multiple sports, and when we're not their Uber drivers, we're also keeping ourselves busy. We've got a ranch south of here where we run some livestock. Background, born and raised in the Concho Valley. I went to Texas A&M for my undergraduate degree. There was a whoop, thank you. Then I went on to Texas Tech and got my law degree. And the whole time I was away at school, I figured out that this is where I wanted to be. I wanted to come home. So I came home and started out doing some real estate law. That was mainly what I studied in law school. And when I did it for a little while, I hated it. It was boring. And I'd interned at the DA's office when I was in law school. And I really enjoyed the work. I really enjoyed working with the officers, the people. And they had an opening. So I went to the DA's office thinking, I'll get some litigation experience, do this for a while, have some insurance, pay some student loans. And almost 20 years later, here I am. I'm still a prosecutor. I figured out along the way that I'm a public servant. So 8.5 years in the DA's office, did juvenile and general felony prosecution, and then a little over 10 years ago, I jumped over to the county attorney's office. I've been the domestic violence prosecutor there ever since. And what I'm looking for is your vote. I've been a public servant for almost the past 20 years. I'm just looking to switch seats in the courtroom and continue to serve you as a county court at law judge. And one last thing, I would like to thank the San Angelo Association of Realtors PAC and the San Angelo Police Officers PAC. I just recently got their endorsements, and I really do appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Lacey. Jessica Skinner, you're next.
Thank you. I'm Jessica Skinner, and I'm running for County Court at Law Judge. I am asking for your vote today. A little bit about my background. I'm a mother of 3. I went to college on an art scholarship. I petitioned the school to get a minor in criminal justice, and I ended up taking that to Baylor Law. That's a trial school. It's ranked 3rd in the nation in trial advocacy, so you come out of there knowing how to try cases, how to be a courtroom lawyer. With my kids, they're involved in everything. We're in the weeds. I've got a rodeo ambassador over there who's here today. We also play a lot of sports. Boys are in baseball, soccer, football, everything. And then I'm involved in our community as well. So I've been a leader here. I've been serving many of our local organizations. I've been on boards. I've been presidents of boards. I've started nonprofits. I've led Bible studies. I've organized retreats. And I coach. I've coached for over a decade, almost every sport. We did not have practice tonight because I'm here. Basketball season is coming to a close soon, and then we've got soccer coming up. So I've got a lot going on, and I've really infiltrated myself in our community and earned people's trust over that time. And then in my free time, I am a lawyer. I run a law practice that I built when I graduated from Baylor, and I have over 15 years of experience handling a high volume docket in high pressure situations. I've become board certified in family law based on that experience and that expertise, and I have the trust of my profession. And so when we're looking at this county court at law position, who's going to come in, who's going to be ready day one, who's going to be prepared, who's going to know the law, how to apply the law in cases that can have high emotions or high conflict, that I'm asking for your vote for that. That's what I've been doing day in and day out. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And on the end is Jana Johnson. You're an attorney as well, and tell us about yourself and why you're running.
Well, Yantis, thank y'all, San Angelo Live, for hosting this platform to inform all the voters about who they should vote for here. The early election begins February 17th and goes through the 27th, and the election day is March 3rd. As Yantis said, my name's Jana Johnson. I've been practicing here in San Angelo and all over West Texas for about almost 15 years coming up. And I was born here in San Angelo. I graduated high school here. I went off to get my undergrad at University of Texas. After I finished that and started my own personal training business for a couple years, I decided to go to law school. And I went to law school out in Michigan, Thomas M. Cooley. I was ready to start earning a dollar. I really wanted to finish law school early. Instead of doing it in 3 years, I did it in 2 years. So I was dedicated and disciplined and had a high work ethic to get that done. After I graduated, I came back here to San Angelo, Texas, and I've been practicing with my father, helping build up his practice and increasing the amount of clients that we take on. I practice multiple areas of law. I have a broad spectrum of what areas I practice, not just family and criminal, but just to give you a little bit more, I do personal injury, probate, real estate, and contract disputes, construction law. And I'm respectfully asking for your vote. I'm running because I want to protect the integrity of our justice system. On a lot of my campaign material, you'll see that it says fair, honest, and trusted. That's not just a slogan. That is how I live my life. That's how I practice law. And I want to bring that to Tom Green County Court at Law Number 1.
Okay, the first question I guess goes to Leland Lacey, since he was no, it goes to Jana, right? We're going backwards. So, Jana Johnson, this position is going to pay close to $200,000 a year in salary. Are you going to be a full-time judge?
Absolutely. I'm passionate about the law, and I want to bring my experience and my skills, my fair-mindedness, my impartiality to ensure that everybody gets a fair shot. So yes, I am going to be 100% a county court at law judge.
Same question to you, Jessica Skinner. It pays close to $200,000 a year. Are you going to be a full-time judge?
Yeah, I mean, that's part of the ethical requirements. You know, there are very limited things that a judge can do on the side. So you will be a full-time judge, and that's really critical because this is a high-volume docket with high-conflict cases where you need to be there. So I'm prepared to shut down my law practice and serve this community in this role.
And Mr. Leland Lacey, the position pays close to $200,000 a year. You're going to be a full-time judge.
And then some. So if you consider full-time 40 hours a week, I'm going to be putting in more than that. Your judges, we're on call all the time. Granted, we rotate a lot of times, but search warrants have to be issued in the middle of the night. Blood search warrants on DWIs, or they need to raid a house, or they need to get an arrest warrant on somebody so they can get them picked up and put in jail. You're on call all the time. And you're in court all the time, which means sometimes you're going in on weekends and having to sign all your documents that we got prepared the week before. Yeah, full time and then some.
Okay, I guess we'll go to Jessica Skinner now. Jessica, walk us through the docket. What are the cases exactly that the court at law judge hears? And are there a lot of jury trials, or is it just before the court? How does it work?
Sure. The county court at law it's the court that most people would more likely be in front of. So it handles criminal misdemeanors. It also handles probates, people's estates, and it handles guardianships. When there's a mental health issue, it handles civil disputes. That could be contract or, anything dealing with some kind of, civil disagreement that's going to fall in those laws. And then the thing that's new to this court, passed in this last legislative session, is family law is coming. So family law is going to be added. They have not started rotating in the family law cases. That's going to take some ramp up and some understanding on how we change the procedures, how we schedule those in. So the docket, includes, over 1,000 criminal misdemeanors, but there are hundreds of civil cases, and those are the ones that are challenging, that are taking the judge's time. Many of the criminal misdemeanors do not go to trial. It's the civil cases that are in contested hearings and strict deadlines on guardianships and things like that.
Okay, Mr. Lacey, from your perspective as a prosecutor in that court, what does it look like? What does the docket look like to you, especially in light of the family law coming in?
Well, so far there hasn't been a single family law case put in that court, and we haven't been told if there will be any time in the near future. As it goes right now, about 70% of what each court hears is misdemeanor cases. Bulk of it's criminal. Then you've got the guardianships, probates, as you mentioned. One thing a lot of people don't know is it's actually the court of first impression when it comes to eminent domain. in the county. And there's a lot of other things too. So it's also the appellate court for your JP courts. So if somebody wants to appeal a traffic ticket, a small claim suit that happened, or an eviction that got served on them, they can appeal that up to county court. So it hears more than what we just listed so far. It's actually a lot of different cases.
Okay, Jana Johnson, same question.
Thank you, Yantis. I just had this conversation with Judge Nolan today. So criminal cases, there are a lot of them within the docket of County Court at Law Number 1, but they only take up about the bench's time of 60%, the administrative time of 60%. The other cases that take up that 40% of the bench time and the administrative time is guardianship, probate, and estate stuff. There's not many criminal trials in county court at law. I don't know if that's because the county attorneys give such good plea bargains and we come to a compromise with our clients, but the majority of the hearings in county court at law are civil.
And Mr. Lacey, when you're considering you basically want to run a courtroom. And so the question is, how many trials, actual trials, have you gone through in the last, say, 2 years? You can do 2, 3 years if you want to go back. How many trials have you actually been the first chair, prosecutor, I guess that would be your role, or even previous to that if you were in private practice as a defense? And that's going to be asked by everyone. What are the criminal trials or what are the trials? It doesn't have to be a criminal trial. And what did you learn from that experience?
In the past 2 years, I honestly don't remember, not many. 99.8 probably, or 99.9% of the cases in county court are disposed of by plea bargain. Each court runs about 1,500 cases a year, so how many? I don't recall, maybe one in the last year.
And Ms. Johnson, for you, how many trials have you been first chair defense? I guess you would be defense in this case since you're in private practice the last 2 years.
Are we talking criminal and civil here?
Any kind of trial. It can be civil or it can be criminal.
I've probably handled 24 civil trials. 2 of them distinctively stick out to me as being week-long will contests. They're just another style of family law there. When it comes to criminal, probably about 2 handfuls of criminal in the last 2 years.
And Ms. Skinner, same question to you. In the last 2 years, how many trials have you participated in? And the other thing I was adding to it was like, if you have any that stand out, and what do you learn from it?
Every time you go to trial, you learn something. That's the benefit of that experience. You know, you're in high pressure situations with real consequences, you know, for real people. So the preparation that you have to do, I mean, you're going over things that you think you know, or that you've gone over hundreds of times before, because your depth of understanding of the law and how it needs to apply and how it works with your facts and the analysis that you have to do, you know, you're working with witnesses, you're working with, you know, that is a very intensive process. And so, you know, you know, develop an understanding of how these cases can go wrong, what mistakes can be made, what decisions need to be made, how you protect families and businesses in our community. You know, as far as my trials, I mean, I've had 30 or 40 in the last 2 to 3 years at least. I had run a high volume docket. So, you know, I had a 2-day trial just a few weeks ago. I had a jury trial back in December. I mean, we're constant, you know, and you're learning from those experiences. And for every trial that I have, there's 10 others that we did intensive prep and ended up settling. So that's really critical to your experience. You learn how to manage a courtroom. I mean, you're dealing with bailiffs and witnesses and parties and attorneys. There's a lot going on there. You have to be very vigilant. You have to be on top of things. You have to manage people's conduct and their behavior while also being able to listen to the evidence and apply the law. And you're doing that in real time. You know, you can't just take that back to your, you know, to your office and think about it for a few months. Like, you need to do it then. So that experience is really critical.
All right, thanks for that. In preparing for tonight, one of the things I came up with is I'm not in court very often. So as an attorney, what has been your worst experience in court? And the second part of that is what has been your best experience? And I'm not sure who we're starting with. Jana Johnson, okay.
The worst experience is seeing the decision that a judge makes, how it affects your client when it didn't turn out in their favor. You feel that with them. And so you understand from that decision that a judge makes these rulings, they affect real lives and have long-lasting impacts on them. Best case feeling is, I have a lot. You love those adoption cases. They have happy endings. You love when your client wins custody of their kid. You love when your client wins the freedom. There's typically 3 things in court that people are fighting on or for that I've learned throughout my experience, and that's their freedom, their kids, and their money. And so it feels good when you can get that win for your client.
Thank you. Jessica Skinner.
Worst case, it's not always the losses, it's the process. I love the Cowboys. When they lose, like I'm okay with that. What really grinds your gears, right, is when you're like, oh, the refs, this wasn't fair, and that same thing in court. So, those are the hard experiences. I have practiced all over this region. I've been in courts in small communities. I've been in courts in large communities. I've tried cases. I've been in front of hundreds of judges. But when you're watching a judge write out the ruling and you've barely started, those are bad experiences. When they're not listening, when they're not following the process, those are tough. We can all have some confidence in outcomes that reasonable people can disagree when the process was fair, when the evidence was heard and the law was applied. When you're making a hearsay objection and a judge says, well, I'll allow it, well, why? I mean, we have rules for a reason. It is so that we can support the system and the process. So those are the cases, those are the best experiences, is when you go through that and you've worked through all your witnesses and all your analysis and all your prep and all your exhibits, and you get all of that there, and the person running the courtroom is faithful to that. They uphold the Constitution. They uphold those laws. They don't put a thumb on the scale. And at the end of the day, you're satisfied because of the process.
All right, Mr. Lacey, same question.
Well, I've had a minute to sit here and stew on what the saddest moment is, and I guess you could say that the saddest moments for me culminate whenever I'm in a courtroom and I can either watch a trial, maybe I'm the party in the trial that's doing the case, either way, but when it concludes and you know that justice wasn't done, whether you win it, whether you lose it, whether you watch somebody else win it or lose it, when you can hear it and go, man, that's not how that should have turned out. And I'll tell you this, I've had enough jury trials that if anybody tells you they know exactly how a jury trial is going to turn out, they are lying to your face. There are so many X factors that go into that, you never know what a jury's going to do, and I've seen it. And that's part of it too. Sometimes it's a judge, sometimes it's a jury, a witness, you never know what the cause of it was, but justice doesn't get done. And that makes me sad. And the flip side of that coin is just the opposite. What makes me glad in courtroom, the happiest moments, when you know justice was done. And from my own perspective, when I was the one trying the case, like one time I got a life sentence on a guy that inappropriately touched a 14-year-old kid, and he had done it before. And I got to go to that kid out in the hallway of the courthouse and say, thank you for testifying. You did your part, I did mine, and now the streets are a little bit safer again. That feels good, and I'm not patting myself on the back. The glory goes to him, but that's the best moments.
Ms. Skinner, I've watched Judge Ben Nolan operate in his courtroom over the many years, And Yantis and I are probably involved in one of the largest trials in Tom Green County history with John Young and Ray Zapata. You remember the will forgery. And it was a will forgery trial, and it started in Ben Nolan's court. And he was presented with a handwritten will, and he accepted it. On the other hand, I've also seen, I guess in retrospect, after the felony trials against Zapata and Young, he would probably say I shouldn't have accepted that will. But on the other hand, I've seen him do some good things. I've seen there's a woman named Jackie Chestnut who's been on our show on San Angelo Live, and Nolan was presented with 3 different wills, and he had to decide which one of those wills was going to be the authentic will that would proceed with the court. Have you thought about how probate works and how when you're looking at wills and you have some contest to the wills, how you would decide what will you would accept, or if you accept the will at all?
You have to follow the law, and you have to apply it to the facts that are presented. We could sit here all day and think of hypotheticals of how you would do this, that, and the other. But once you're in the courtroom and you're presiding on that bench, you're listening to that evidence, you're leaning on experts when it's appropriate, and you're applying that law to the facts that are presented. So you can second guess things on the back end all you want, but if it wasn't presented, that's the opportunity. That's that access to justice. That's part of that process. So in those moments, that's what you're looking for. And you have to be intentional, and you have to be analytical. You have to have an understanding of what those laws are and how they apply, so that you know what you're looking for.
Same question to you, Leland Lacey. When you're looking at a will in a probate case or a probate hearing, taking into account some of the things that have happened over the years with the Ray Zapata handwritten will, and for example, the other one, we have 3 different wills that are presented. Which one do you pick? Give me your sight picture on how you would decide, how to go forward with, providing justice in a probate hearing in regards to choosing which will is going to be, or even if the single will is authentic.
Okay, that one's pretty easy. I'm going to do the same thing Ben Nolan did. So whenever John Young came into court to present that will to be probated, he saw another lawyer in court that had some questions whether or not the will was authentic, and he thought, I'm going to cover my bases here. I don't have a court reporter to take a record, but if there's anything fishy, I want it to be documented. And what he did was he followed the law. The will was presented. He had no reason to believe it wasn't authentic. All the paperwork was in order. He followed the law. That's what a judge does. But he also has a docket sheet where he can make notes. It's part of the official record of the case. And he took detailed notes with I don't know what testimony was said, but at least what was entered, who was there, what was done. And ultimately, that docket sheet got used in the trial to try John Young. He did what a judge is supposed to do. That's what I'm going to do.
And Ms. Johnson, same question to you. In light of some of the more controversial decisions that Judge Ben Nolan, who is retiring, has had to do in probate, deciding whether or not wills are authentic or having to choose between multiple wills. What is your sight picture on how you handle probate and choosing which will in the hearing that is authentic?
I'm going to take this in 2 scenarios, because you've said, how do you authenticate, choose which will when there's multiple ones? Well, you look at the date when it was signed. You look at, does it have all the requirements in it, or that they're saying they're of sound mind? They know of what property they are disposing of. They know who their heirs are and who they're giving it to. And was that their signature on it? You have 2 witnesses in the room when that decedent is signing it at the time, and you can bring them to court if you can find them. They can attest to the decedent's testamentary capacity. And doing that, you uphold the law and you choose which will is more authentic. And you listen to the facts and testimony from witnesses. When you have just one will and someone is contesting it, usually it comes down to undue influence or testamentary capacity. Did someone influence this person to write this will? And testamentary capacity comes down to, did they have a sound mind at the time? Did they know what their bounty was? Did they know who their heirs were? And did they know who they were giving it to? And did they know why? So that's what I would rely on in deciding whether to admit the will or not.
Okay, thank you very much. Who gets the next question? Leland gets the next question. Okay, Leland. The three of you can do something that I can't do when you walk into the Tom Green County Courthouse. You can take your phone in. I have to take my shoes off.
That's because you look like a terrorist.
Which leads to technology in the courtroom, cameras in the courtroom. I know the district judges here are against and have been historically against cameras in the courtroom. I think from a constitutional standpoint, there's a place for them in the right time and place if they're managed correctly. As attorneys as a judge, what would be your take on cameras in the courtroom?
You know, the law evolves, the courts evolve, technology evolves. It may become necessary later on for everybody to have their phone in the courtroom for one reason or another. I don't know. Right now, our district and county court law judges have decided not to allow them in. I think a lot of it is security. That way they control who can communicate in and outside of that courtroom. I know part of it is when it comes to making a record. They don't want people using their phones to make their own record or to try and document their own case to take it up on appeal. No, the judge says what the record is. The court reporter takes it down. The evidence gets entered. So they have their reasons for doing it. As of right now, they have thought about that a lot more than I have, and I'm sure they have their reasons, but I wouldn't be opposed to lifting it later because things change.
Ms. Skinner, cameras in the courtroom, not just cell phones, but cameras in the courtroom. Where do you stand?
On like live feeds or being able to see what happened. I
Yeah,
mean,
like we are here.
Yeah, I love watching those. Probably every one. I've watched all of them. I'm like, hey, some of them actually, I give my clients the homework to go watch them. I'm like, this is not what you do. This is what you do. I love that. Yeah, I mean, I do think there's some security. I mean, obviously, we just spent an hour talking about budgets. You know, the courts have been renovated lately. There has been technology added that's been really critical. You know, I've tried cases all over. You know, we're behind like Midland, you know, and we all know why. But, you know, so we're trying to get into the modernizing of our courtrooms and how can we do things more effectively. You know, I've had those conversations. You know, during the pandemic, when I was allowed to enter in exhibits electronically, my paper cost went, I think when we reopened the court system, I went from printing 20,000 pages a year to, I think I printed like 200 during the pandemic, and then it went all the way back up. You know, so we're modernizing those things. Cameras can be included in those things. You know, it depends on budgets and technology and what do we have available. You know, I mean, our courts are just now getting the technology that I had when I was at Baylor. You know, when I was at Baylor, I mean, you could enter in an exhibit and show it to the judge. I mean, we tried cases at Baylor in school, you know, and so, you know, those things are coming. But, you know, having access to see what's going on in the court, I think there's a balance there. We have an open court system. And so that may be something, if that's in the budget, you know, that can be had so that people are aware of what's going on and how those things are playing.
All right, thank you very much. Jana Johnson, cameras in the courtroom. Where do you stand?
Well, I'm for them. I practice in the 112th and the 83rd District where people get to bring their cell phones into those courtrooms. So I'm used to having that ability with my clients to have that, and you just are respectful to the court and you turn it off. Each judge who takes the bench gives that warning. I think we already have open courtroom proceedings where the public can come in most cases. So I don't see any different in allowing a camera crew to come in and film the justice system. I think it would bring confidence, trust to our judicial system.
All right, thanks very much. Joe?
This is for, I guess, Jana Johnson's our next one up on the hot seat. There's been a lot of controversy in the state over bail reform. So bails, basically, if your kid gets arrested, I know no one here would get arrested, then you have to wait in the holding cell until a magistrate, which could be you, if you won this position, comes in and sets a bail for you to get out. There's in Harris County, for example, there's been a lot of PR bonds for violent criminals, things like that. A PR bond is a personal reconnaissance bond, meaning they don't have to put any money up. Give me your view on bail, how we should set the bail, what kind of offenses would you set, would go for a PR bond versus how would you set a high bond?
Well, when it comes to setting bail, you have three things that you're trying to accomplish. Assess the risk, protect the public, and ensure the person's appearance at court. So I would be setting bail, making sure that I'm adhering and upholding the law with those three standards and doing so. What cases I'd give a PR bond to at this point? I couldn't tell you. I'm not in that position at this point to know. What I can tell you and what I've seen, what judges have done in giving PR bonds is usually first-time offenders with a possession of marijuana, and they've set bail kind of low for all those first-time offenders, and when you become a repeat offender, that bail goes up. But what amount that I would personally do, it just depends on a case-by-case basis. I need to know the individual facts of the case and the characteristics of this defendant.
Ms. Jessica Skinner, your idea of setting bail, if you were setting bail for someone who just got arrested, what is your sight picture on bail? PR bonds versus lots of money on a bond.
You know, when it comes to violent offenders, you have to be very careful. You know, I file a lot of protective orders. I handle a lot of cases where I'm, looking at victims who are needing help and they're needing safety. One of the things that you learn in those cases, like even once I get a protective order, sometimes the most dangerous time is right after an incident. So when you're looking at violent offenders, who've been picked up or charged with assaults or family violence or things like that, you have to be careful in how you're setting those bails, how quickly they're able to get out. PR bonds would not be appropriate in those scenarios. You do have to have accountability that they're going to show up to court, but you're looking to protect the community in facts of a scenario that you don't quite know yet. So you're erring on the side of caution. And those things are really important. So I understand some of the bail reform. I think some of that swung one way and it's kind of swinging back the other way. But when it comes to those violent cases, you need to err on the side of caution.
Mr. Leland Lacey, same question. We're talking about bail, setting bail. Your sight picture on where you set a PR bond versus putting a bond in there for a lot of money to keep them in the jail.
Okay. There's a lot of moving parts to that. So most of your people that get arrested, they get magistrated in the jail, which means they're told what they're charged with, and a JP maybe looks at their criminal history. What they do have is a little one-paragraph affidavit statement on a booking sheet that says what this person did. It has to contain the probable cause for what they did, and it's usually 2, maybe 3 sentences. Sometimes the officer won't even include all the elements of the crime, and a JP looks at it and goes, nope, cut him loose. They didn't include that in there. But it's usually your JPs that set the bail amount. And when they do that, they're doing it based on the recommendation of the officer that brings them in. They could be doing it on the basis of the officer got an assistant DA or an assistant CA to sign the complaint and do a bond recommendation. They've also got access to the criminal history. So most of the time, they're trying to make as an informed decision as they can on where to set bail. You asked our commissioners earlier that how well are they going to play with the other 26 elected officials, right? That's part of it. So your magistrate's more often than not going to set bond, but they got to play nice with the sheriff too. The sheriff's the one that's in charge of the jail. Most of the time, the inmates in the jail, at least on the male side, it's pretty close to capacity. So we're dealing with A and B misdemeanors here, but we're also dealing with some very violent, nasty offenders on the criminal side of things that are in there on big bonds. We've only got so many beds for all of them. So when you get the crazy guy that's got the criminal trespass because he showed up at Shannon for the 10th time because he had a hangnail or thought he was sick, are you going to PR bond him? Or are you going to put him on a surety bond and make him stay in there, which he's never going to make because he's homeless. Most of the time they get PR'd out. You've also got to think there's people that come in that have debilitating diseases, mental health diseases, things that cost the sheriff a whole lot of money to medicate. Do we want to perhaps get them out where they can get services another way, or do we want the sheriff to have to foot that bill? So there's a lot of things that go into it.
All right, thanks. I think we have time for one more question. Okay, we'll start with Jana Johnson. How active are you in the State Bar of Texas and in helping shape policy through the legislature that affects courts like this?
Sadly, I'm not, I don't play a big role there in the State Bar of Texas. We used to have a Tom Green County Bar Association, but I don't see any more of the emails inviting us to lunch. My time is devoted to my clients, being a mom, being a wife, and to my community, my church. I do coach my son's sports. And my kids just finished swimming, but being a judge, I'm not a policy maker. My goal, my role, is to uphold the law.
Okay. Same question. How, Jessica? How involved are you in creating policy with the legislature for courts?
So I'm heavily involved with the State Bar of Texas. You know, I've written and I've spoken at conferences teaching other lawyers. I currently chair the Regional Grievance Committee. So when you file ethical complaints, those are overseen by the Grievance Committee. We hear those hearings, we hear that evidence. You know, we're applying those disciplinary procedure rules. You know, and then when it comes to policy, you know, there's a lot of moving parts to that. There's a lot of different organizations. You know, I've got friends that are lobbyists that have worked on child welfare cases and things like that. Currently, over the last year, I've been working with a group of local leaders and stakeholders and working on how we're reimagining our CPS system here. You know, the legislature passed a pilot program for us last year. That was something that had been worked on for several years through One Accord for Kids. Moving forward and trying to figure out how we're going to better serve the children and families in our communities, not just when they're in the system, but what about before and what about after, and how do we create a robust, you know, and that's something that's going to affect our guardianships, it's going to affect our family law cases, you know, that affects the stability of our community. So we're working on, you know, kind of more of a grassroots approach where we have the CPS, but we also have a fiscal entity. And then we've got people who are involved in our community, which is something that Tom Green County can do really well. You know, we've been a model before, and the legislature is actually asking us to be a model again, and develop something that hopefully other regions and administrative regions can follow. And so I've been working heavily with a group trying to reimagine how we do that and pulling people in.
All right, thank you so much. Mr. Lacey, same question. How involved are you with the legislature and in shaping policy?
Well, I'm not, and most lawyers aren't. Yeah, I'm kind of at the lower level in the trenches taking grenades. The ones that shape policy and make the laws are off in Austin. Your average lawyer is not involved in making policy. And I don't know if you've heard the expression, there's two things you don't want to watch being made: sausage being made or the Texas legislature in session. Because half the laws, I say half, percentage of laws that they crank out. For instance, years ago, there was a sexting statute that they were coming out with. Before the sexting statute, you know, when kids would send intimate pictures to each other, it was promotion of child pornography, which is a felony, which nobody wanted to see that happen, but that's the only law we had. So they said, all right, we're gonna make a statute for kids that applies to them where it's a misdemeanor and we can address it. And they wrote the statute, and I'm like, yes, finally I can start addressing this as the Julie prosecutor, and I read it, and I'm like, well, there's a defense, there's a defense, there's a defense. And then it was even annotated in the law book that, as you've noticed, there's several defenses to this where it was a very poorly written law. And I thought, man, if they just let a couple of lawyers in the back room to help draft this, we could actually use it. And sure enough, the next legislative turn, they redid it, and we were able to get something out of it.
All right, thanks. And that goes back to what we were talking about with the commissioners. You know, the legislature meets 140 days every 2 years, and maybe they should just meet twice every 140 years. So, Joe, with that, I'll give it back to you.
Okay, we're at the end of the debate. We're going to go ahead and do the 2-minute outros. And I can't remember who he started with, so Yantis is supposed to tell me. He's supposed to keep track. We started Leland, so let's start with Jana.
3 times in a row. Woohoo! Well, I just want the voters to know that I manage a heavy caseload, and handle my cases are sometimes simple to complex. I travel all over West Texas, gone sometimes up to 7-10 days a month, traveling as far as 3.5 hours away, sometimes even more. And with that, I have an intense schedule that I have to maintain, often getting triple booked and having to decide which cases get a continuance and which ones don't. And with that, it gives me the skill to manage a heavy caseload docket for this court. I will run it efficiently, fairly, and make rulings timely. With that experience, I also know that my decisions will affect real people and have long-lasting effects. As I stated earlier, I think this county deserves a fair, honest, trusted judge on the bench, and I'm respectfully requesting your vote.
Ms. Skinner, Jessica Skinner.
Thank you. I do appreciate everyone coming and wanting to be a part of this process and learning about it. I'm Jessica Skinner, and I am running for county court at law. And to be the judge of that court, you need to have expertise. You do have to be an attorney. Unlike the county court, where you don't have to be an attorney, you have to be an attorney. So we're already looking at a higher standard. And then you're looking to what have you been doing? We know in our community who handles responsibility well. We know who's consistent and who's steady, who shows up, and who does good work, because they become trusted. They become leaders. And when you're looking at my background and the things that I've already done, I've been a leader in our community, and I've been doing that for a long time. I've been a coach, I've led multiple organizations, I'm problem solving, I'm helping to find ways that we can do things better, that we can support each other, that we can find that stability. On top of that, you're also looking for leaders in this profession. I am already a leader in my profession. I am the only one who has not only a locally respected reputation, but statewide. I've developed relationships and mentors, and I'm always committed to learning new things. I've been selected as a rising star of the super lawyers for 6 years. I've spoken at conferences, and I'm board certified. I'm the only candidate up here who's board certified. And in family law, that is a distinction that is held by less than 1% of attorneys. Because I am peer reviewed. My caseload has been investigated. My ethics, my reputation, and I've been tested. That expertise is going to be critical in these roles in these courts, because I've been in courtrooms where I've seen how a careful decision can stabilize lives, and I've seen how a careless one can unravel them. So when you're thinking about this court, I don't want you to rely on promises of what may be done later. You can rely on the things that I've already done, that work that I've earned. So I'm asking for your vote, and I'd like to be your next county court at law judge.
Mr. Leland Lacey. Mr. Leland Lacey.
Okay, well, as we all three sit here, we're all lawyers, we've all got a good bit of experience, but our resumes are not the same. So I think about what I do for a living. Let's say you or a loved one gets charged with a crime. I'm actually your first line of defense, because the case comes to me, I review it, look at the facts, apply the facts to the law, and I determine, can I get beyond a reasonable doubt? Can I get all the way and prosecute this case? And if I say no, then it doesn't get filed. It just gets taken away. If I do think I can get there, then I take the case to court, and there's accountability. When I took this job as a prosecutor, I took an oath to seek justice. I don't get paid by the case. I'm not there to seek convictions. I'm not there to ruin people's lives. I'm there to seek justice. And in every case, that's a moving target I'm trying to hit. What is justice in this case, based on the facts, based on the criminal history, based on whether or not I can get there, etc. That's what I've been doing for 20 years. I've been serving you, and it's been a pleasure and an honor to do it. And all I'm asking is to continue serving you. I just want to switch chairs in the courtroom, and with my background, I think I'm the best equipped to do it. Thank you.
And with that, that concludes the live candidate debate sponsored by WTX Supply. I appreciate the sponsorship. I also appreciate everyone here donated some money to the Pregnancy Health Center. We raised over $550. I haven't looked at the final numbers yet, but $550 will go to the Pregnancy Health Center and help some girls that are in trouble. And thank y'all for coming out to the ArcLight Sports Bar and Grill. We are the greatest bar in Texas. And if you're interested in more of these things, the Pachyderm Club meets here every Wednesday. I think it's the third Wednesday of every month. And we also have the Tea Party meets here the second Tuesday of every month. I might be wrong on the first and third, but it's something like that. They all meet here. And thank you once again for coming out. And this concludes the candidate debate.